Well, good morning once again. It's Friday. It's exciting to always approach the weekend. And thank you for those who put up with the devotion since Monday up to this day. Thank you for tuning in faithfully. We appreciate each one of you, and may God bless you abundantly. We are having a conversation around recovering lost ground. It's a spillover from last week's days of refreshing. And we are hoping that you're getting blessed. We've been looking at the story of David, and now he was able to recover, some lost ground when he experienced tragedy at Ziklag alongside with his motley crew of men, 600 men. And they lost their wives, their children, their property, and God helped them to recover. And we've been looking at some of the elements, some of the things that could have contributed towards their chances of recovery. And we are learning lessons from those things. David praised God. David prayed. David pursued. David prevailed. That's what we've been looking at since Monday up to Thursday. And so now we want to continue. There's one more thing that, because, David, as we read in, that was verse 16, 17, and I believe 18, 19, and 20, 21, he did not just recover all. He recovered much more. This is 1 Samuel chapter 30, from verse 16, 17, when he began to pursue 17, 18, 19, and 20, and even 21. He did not just recover all that he had lost. He recovered much more than he had lost. My prayer for you, child of God, is that you will not just recover what you've lost. You will recover and get much more, because he did not just get what was stolen from Ziklag. He was able to recover from the Amalekites what they had stolen from many other villages. Put together, he was able to get that. And so I'm telling you, after you've gone through the trouble you've gone through, God is not just going to take you back to where you were before that trouble. God is going to take you, he is able to take you beyond where you are. And I pray may that be your portion, to be taken beyond where you are, to accomplish much more, to recover much more, that your business will operate at a whole new level than the level it was in before COVID struck. David recovered much more. See, the last element of complete recovery, because we could have stopped there and said, David recovered, but then there's something that he did to perpetuate that victory, to propagate that victory, to prolong that victory, to make it, to kind of set it up for posterity so that it can last a long period of time. And there's something very critical. Let's read from verse 21 down to verse 25, 26 there. It says, now David came to the 200 men who had been so weary that they could not follow David. Remember, at some point, when they began to pursue, there were 600. They got to a certain brook, and 200 were left behind, and 400 went to David because they were too tired. It says that they came back and found these 200 waiting for them. They could not follow the whom they had also had made to stay at brook Besor. So they went out to meet David and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near the people, he greeted them. Then all the wicked and worthless men of those who went with David, I don't even understand how they were wicked and worthless men as part of his crew. Anyway, went to David, answered and said, because they did not go with us, we will not give them any of the spoil that we have recovered, except for every man's wife and children, that they may lead them away and depart. And David said, verse 23, my brethren, you shall not do so with the Lord, with what the Lord has given us. I love David, man, who has preserved us and delivered into our hands the troop that came against us. This guy had a golden heart. For who will heed you in this matter? But as his part is who goes down to the battle, so shall his part be who stays by the supplies. They shall share alike. Verse 25, so it was from that day forward, he made it a statute, an ordinance for Israel to this day. I'll read also verse 26 and 27. Now when David came to Ziklag, he sent some of the spoil. He did not just share with those who were left behind, but he also shared with his friends. He sent some of the spoil to the elders in Judah, to his friends, saying, here is a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. And so he distributed different towns. Listen, good people. There was something about David's heart, even when he had recovered. I think even before he went to recover, David had this kind of a heart that he knew whatever God has blessed him with is not just for himself. It is to be shared with others. It's a generous heart. See, that generous heart is what will accelerate, is what will perpetuate, is what will, just consolidate your recovery process. Embracing a generous heart. I mean, in doing so, in David legislating that whatever they have recovered will not just be for those who've gone to war, it will be shared by others. Those who've gone to war, it will be shared by others. He was, in essence, sowing seeds for future harvest. And this is how we perpetuate, we prolong and propagate the victories that we win. When I talk about that, I remember a woman in 1 Samuel chapter 1, from verse 11 to 12. Her name was Hannah. She did not have children. And she had prayed, desiring that God will give her children. And then, you know what? At some point, she got a revelation. She said, you know what, God? If you're going to give me that child, I will share that child with your people. I will share that child with you, God. I will offer him back to you. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 11 to 12. And God was awestruck. God was like, wow, I didn't expect that. Okay, give her a child. And she was given a child. Guess what? She was not just given a child. If you read verse 21 of 1 Samuel chapter 2, she was given other children. She was given other, 3 sons and 2 daughters, because she offered that which she was pursuing to God. See, there is something about being generous with what God has blessed you with that sustains you at the place of victory. Because God is going to enable some of you to recover. He's going to enable you to recover. And after he has enabled you to recover, if God will sustain you at that place of recovery and victory, you must learn to share, to give, to remember God with what he has given you, to pay your tithes, to support the poor, to help other brethren with what he has blessed you with. Some of you are going to experience promotions. That promotion is not just for you to drive a big car. That promotion is for you to have more resources to support God's work and to help other people. That promotion is for you to open doors for others, not just for you to sit there and enjoy yourself. Now, this becomes even sweeter when you sow seeds of generosity in moments of lack, when you are still believing God for victory, and you begin to sow seeds with the little that you have. That is what really accelerates the victory and the recovery process. Look at that woman in Luke chapter 21. Luke chapter 21, verses 1 to 4. Jesus is hanging out at the treasury in the temple, and something interesting happens. People are bringing their offerings, and they're bringing huge sums of money. And then there's this woman who comes with 2 mites, the smallest amount of coins back then, smallest value of coins. She brings and throws them in the basket. And Jesus looks at her and turns to the disciples and says, wow, guys, have you seen what has happened? They're like, what? That woman, I think she's more blessed than every other person. She got Jesus' attention, not because of how much she gave, but because of the sacrifice that was around what she gave. 2 mites. Others were giving out of their abundance, but she was giving out of her luck, believing that God would bless her. And some of you, I feel God is saying that right now, take the little that you have and give it, plant it, support somebody, bless somebody. I remember a certain man of God telling us that when in his early years of ministry, he used to have a troublesome car. I mean, that car would spend more time in the garage than on the road. I mean, he would spend more time under the hood of the car than driving it. And he just got tired of that. So he just, went to the garage and told the garage people, sell this car. And when they sold it at some little money, he took that money and he went into the church and he gave it to the church treasurer. At that time, they were having a project in that church. He said, put this money in the building project. I'll be walking from this moment henceforth. Let me tell you, right now, that man of God has got some of the best vehicles you could ever talk about. I mean, he has several of them. Because he learned how to sow seeds of generosity in moments of lack. And it accelerated recovery. I dare you, child of God, to do the same. And God will bless you. Let me just quote a couple more scriptures. Remember the woman, this woman in the book of, let me just get it. Remember this woman in the book of 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 7 to 16. This widow at Zarephath, widow of Zarephath. Elijah, it's famine. Elijah wants some food. Elijah bumps into this woman and says, you know what, make for me some meal. And the woman says, man of God, I only have some little flour and some little oil, and I was planning to make it for me and my child, and then after that, we are done. Elijah says, make it for the man of God. And she makes it for the man of God and feeds the man of God. And tell you what, from that day until the famine was over, she never lacked food. She learned to be generous in moments of lack, and God accelerated her recovery. I dare you, child of God, to do the same. There's something about being generous that is powerful. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 to 10 has got some powerful things it says for us to consider as we close. Remember David, after he got victory, he blessed other people. He remembered those who had remained behind and they did not go to fight with him. He remembered his friends. He planted his seeds. And guess what? It accelerated his becoming a king. And when he became king, he had much more than he could ever think about. I think this is one of the components that made God say, this is a man after my own heart. I am generous, he is generous. This is my kind of man. And God just confirmed the kingdom for David and destroyed his enemies. I dare you. Listen to 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 to 10. It says, but this I say, he who sows sparingly, I'm reading from the New King James Version. He who sows sparingly will reap sparingly. He who sows bountifully will reap bountifully. So let each one give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. Remember those wicked men? In Kiswahili we say kamati ya roho chafu. They didn't want people to share their spoil. And those were dark hearts, they were bad hearts. But David was a man of a merry heart. He said, come on, guys, let's enjoy, let's bless other people, let's have fun, let's just bless people. God blesses a cheerful giver. And God is able to make, now this is what happens. This is where the posterity, the propagation, the perpetuation of your miracle takes place. It says, and God is able to make all grace abound towards you. When you learn generosity, when you learn to just share what God has blessed you with, it establishes, it releases another level of God's blessing. Listen to this level. And God is able to make all grace to abound. Abound means overwhelming. Abound means you can't remember the bank balance you have because money has been coming in into your bank account because God has just been blessing you. Abound towards you, that you will always having all sufficiency in all things. And I pray that will be your grace, my brother, my sister, as you learn to sow seeds of generosity with what God has blessed you, as you learn to sow seeds of generosity, anticipating what God will bless you with. That God will make all the grace to abound towards you, that you will having all sufficiency in all things, you may have an abundance of every good work. Let me read that again. And God is able to make all grace to abound towards you. May all grace abound towards you. That you, my viewer, always having all sufficiency. If you learn to be generous, you will always, having all sufficiency in all things. You may have an abundance for every good work. That's my prayer for you. Bible says He has dispersed abroad. He has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. There is perpetuation. Now may He who supplies seeds to the sower and bread for food, may He supply and multiply the seed that you will sow and increase the fruits of your victory, of your recovery. That's my prayer for you as you take on this weekend. Would you please enjoy the weekend? And would you please be generous? You can support this work. 593035 is our till number. Support the ministry that we are doing here. But you can also support the needy amongst us. Pay bill 991648, account Food Bank, and God will bless you. Till number 593035 for your offerings, for special giving, and for the Food Bank. Pay bill number 991648. Account Food Bank, and God will bless you. May God watch over you. May you recover all and recover more and remain victorious in the coming days. See you another time, and may God bless you. Amen.